Hello everyone and welcome back to another weather update. This evening we'll be taking a look at our multi-day severe weather setup from today on Monday all the way until Thursday. But we will be mainly looking at today and tomorrow's severe weather, but we'll also take a quick look at Wednesday and Thursday's severe weather risk as well. But I hope everybody stayed safe while they watched the eclipse today if you're able to see it, and I hope everybody had a fun time watching it. But let's go ahead and get started. So now looking at what is driving this severe weather setup, looking at the 12Z GFS, you can see our trough right here over the southwest United States, and this will start to move east slowly, and then by tonight it should be still mainly over the southwest United States, but then by midday Tuesday it should be close to panhandle of Texas, and then as you go forward into late Tuesday night into Wednesday, early on Wednesday, you can still see it moving east and still maintaining a more neutral to slightly positive tilt right here, and then still heading east, and then into Wednesday, as you can see here, still has kind of a neutral tilt right here, and still it progresses east and moves east, and then by Wednesday night you still have it over Oklahoma and then Arkansas. And as you can see, we have that large wind field of those 500 millibar winds there, and then still moving this east. It kind of starts to get a negative tilt as it gets into Thursday morning, and this is going to be something we'll have to watch, especially on a Wednesday night into Thursday, I would say for sure. But then still heading into Thursday, you still have that negative tilt there, and then you have these high winds and the 500 millibar level, and then you can see it begins to head out of the US there by Friday and Saturday. Now quickly taking a look at our radar, mainly across eastern Texas and then into central Louisiana. We do currently have a tornado watch from pretty much eastern Texas all the way into central and north central Louisiana, and as of 4:03 p.m. Central Time, this will expire at 8 p.m. It does say a couple of tornadoes possible at this time, and then some scattered large hail and up to 3 inches possible. And this could definitely change over the next couple of hours. So just make sure to stay up to date with your local weather offices, and always make sure you can alerts. So now looking at our severe weather risk for today, and this is the 20Z update. We do have an enhanced risk from parts of Texas, central Texas, all the way into eastern Texas there, and then into far northwestern Louisiana. And then around that enhanced risk is a slight risk extending from south central Texas all the way into far western Mississippi there, and into southern Arkansas, and then into parts of southern Oklahoma there. And then around that is a marginal risk that goes from far western Texas all the way into far western Alabama there, and then into Oklahoma and Arkansas and Louisiana. And then with this risk today, we do have a 5% tornado risk that spans from north central Texas all the way into Louisiana there, and then we have a 2% risk surrounding that all the way from south central Mississippi into Texas and Oklahoma, as well as Arkansas and Louisiana. And then looking at our wind risk with this, same with that, 15% risk from Texas all the way into far western, and a 5% risk surrounding that as well. And then with our hail risk, we do have a 30% risk with a hatched risk in surrounding that 30%, and in some of that 15% risk there, with most of that hatch risk being in that 15% risk is there. But we have the 30% risk mostly from Texas all the way into northwestern Louisiana, and then into far southwestern Arkansas there. Then with a 15% risk all the way from Texas into Louisiana and touching the Mississippi border there, Louisiana Mississippi border. And then for our 5% risk, that goes all the way from western Alabama, into Texas there as well. And this also touches Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and far southwestern Tennessee. Looking at today's threat on the 18Z HRRR, as you can see, those storms I was just showing on the radar across Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. These will start to try to strengthen again a little bit over the next couple of hours in these areas right here, and then they will start to head more northward to northeast. And then as you can see, we have just many clusters going on from Alabama all the way into central Texas, and then into Arkansas and Louisiana, and then some more isolated cells trying to develop in northern Texas right there. And then as you go into later this evening into tonight, you have these clusters trying to they really start to gather together and pretty much form into a MCS, and just these clusters all throughout northern Louisiana and southern Arkansas into eastern Texas there. And then we'll probably have to watch these tonight for that health threat for sure, as they start to get more mature, and once they start losing that daytime heating, they will pretty much gather into these large clusters in this MCS right here. And then we'll talk about Tuesday's threat in just a second. Looking at our mixed layer CAPE values on the 18Z HRRR, you have over 2,000 joules per kilogram showing up in parts of Texas, and then just a large plume of high CAPE values into Texas, and then into northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas, and into southeastern Oklahoma, and then even into northern Mississippi right there. But you're going to maintain these 2,000, 1,500 plus, 2,000 plus joules per kilogram CAPE values all the way into later this evening until tonight into Texas. And this is going to be mainly a factor in that health threat for sure tonight over Texas. And then as you can see, into very late tonight, we still have over 2,000 per kilogram showing up and essential to southern Texas right there. Looking at our low level jets for today and tonight, we really don't have a really strong low level jet at the moment, but it will start to strengthen over the next couple of hours. And as you can see, later this evening into tonight, we have that low level jet really starting to speed up there, and you have 35 to 40 knots of 850 millibar wind showing up across eastern Texas and Louisiana, and this will support that tornado risk for tonight. And then, but the biggest thing limiting the one of the biggest things limiting the tornado threat is that lack of instability, as you get that low level jet that appears later after that instability has weakened and waned off a lot into tonight. Now looking at tomorrow's severe weather risk, and this is the 1730Z outlook right here, and we have an enhanced risk right here from Texas all the way into central to western Louisiana, and then you have that slight risk around that from southern Arkansas into Louisiana and then into Texas there, and then you have a marginal risk around that all the way from southeastern New Mexico all the way into Louisiana and Mississippi and Arkansas right there. And you also do have a marginal risk in parts of Ohio and into northwestern Pennsylvania right there. And then looking at our tornado risk for tomorrow, we have a 10% risk in Louisiana and then parts of Texas, eastern Texas right there. And we have a hatch risk around that 10% risk, and around the 10% is the 5% risk from Louisiana all the way into central Texas, and then you have a 2% risk surrounding that all the way from western Mississippi into central Texas again. Then looking at our wind risk, we do have a 30% wind risk with this from Louisiana all the way into eastern Texas right there. And then around that is a 15% risk from far south, southwestern Mississippi into Texas again. And then a 5% around that from Texas all the way to Mississippi, and then down into Louisiana and up into Arkansas there. And you also have a 5% wind risk into Ohio and northwestern Pennsylvania right there. And then looking at our hail risk, you do have a 30% risk with this, with a hatch risk all the way around that 30% risk. And this hatch risk is only in parts of eastern Texas right there. And then our 15% risk is all the way from far southwestern Mississippi into parts of north central Texas right there. And then as you have that 5% around that all the way from southeastern New Mexico all the way into northern Mississippi and into Louisiana and Oklahoma and into Arkansas right there, with also a 5% hail risk into Ohio and into Pennsylvania. Now looking at our mixed layer cape on the 18Z HRRR for tomorrow, as you can see, that cape from today and then into late tonight is showing up there, and then it kind of diminishes a little bit, and then as you get into late tomorrow morning into Texas, it starts to build again, and you have over 2,000 joules per kilogram showing up in central to southern Texas, and then over 3,000 joules per kilogram showing up there after in the mid-afternoon hours. And then as you get into the evening hours, you start to really build up that cape still, well over 3,000 joules per kilogram there, 3,500 joules per kilogram showing up right there, and then well over 2,000 there. And then even into Louisiana, you have over 1,000 joules per kilogram showing up there as well. And then still going into tomorrow night, that cape remains mainly over Texas, and then still moving forward into late Tuesday night, tomorrow night, into early on Wednesday, you still have that cape well over 2,000 joules per kilogram showing up still in Texas. And that cape, that instability starts to move into Louisiana and Texas. But I'm not really going to get too far into this right here, into tomorrow, Wednesday's forecast, because it's still just too far away to really pinpoint certain stuff like instability and where it's going to be. But we will take a look at that in just a little bit. Quickly looking at temperatures for tomorrow, already by late morning, you already have temperatures into the mid 80s in parts of southwestern Texas, and then you have mid 70s in south central Texas, and then all the way mainly from southern Mississippi all the way into far central Texas. You mainly have temperatures in the mid to upper 70s, so that'll definitely contribute to that instability. You really have those temperatures climbing up into southern Texas all the way into the mid 90s there, and then really those will still temps will still be into the 70s all the way until tomorrow night, and the upper 70s in southern Texas there, and just mainly the 70s across the southern US right there. I did forget to mention this earlier, but just quickly looking back at tonight's severe weather event, you have widespread moisture all the way from Mississippi into Arkansas, Louisiana, into Texas, low 70s dew points. So this really contributes to some of that cape, as I was just showing earlier. But just quickly, talking about that real quick, and then moving back to tomorrow's severe weather event, you just have that plume of 70s dew points there into 71 to 72 degrees right there over south central into southern Texas there, all the way from today, this evening, into tonight right there. Then looking back at tomorrow's severe weather events, you have the 70s dew points starting to climb up northward into Texas right there, and then you have 60s dew points all the way from Texas into parts of Tennessee, and then even into Missouri. You have 60s dew points even into Kentucky right there too, but all the way from there to Texas you pretty much have 60 plus dew points showing up. And then as you go farther into tomorrow evening, you have those 70 dew points really starting to push up again, and you just have this large plume of very moist air into eastern Texas and then into Louisiana late tomorrow night. Now looking at tomorrow's convective mode, as you can see, we have clusters all throughout Texas and then into Oklahoma and into Louisiana and Arkansas tomorrow morning, showing up on the 18ZHRRR. And as you get into tomorrow morning, you have these cells really starting to develop across Texas and into Louisiana right there. And then going forward, this pretty much there we have like a MCS right here, mainly moving into Texas, and that'll be responsible for that wind threat tomorrow, and then also for that tornado threat. You're gonna have to watch any of these cells that try to get going down here, and really gonna have to watch them for sure with that low-level jet. And then as you can see, that wind threat will pretty much move into Louisiana as well, and then you still have some cells trying to develop across eastern Texas right here into tomorrow night and late tomorrow night. Now looking at our low-level jet for tomorrow, you're going to have a little bit of a stronger low-level jet than you had today, but going into tomorrow afternoon, you have this 30 to 40 knot low-level jet across Texas and then into parts of Louisiana right there. And this is going to be something to watch with our tornado risk too, just really to see if it maintains its strength or strengthens at all. But we're going to have to watch that as it gets into Louisiana as well. And it mainly just maintains a upper 30 to lower 40 knot range as it gets into Louisiana and Mississippi right there. Now looking at our marginal risk for northeastern Ohio and northwestern Pennsylvania for tomorrow, you're going to have some cells just try to start developing by early afternoon, and then you really start to have some cells try to get stronger over Ohio and then into Pennsylvania. And then by late tomorrow night, you're going to have some clusters trying to still get going, but they're going to start to weaken a little bit by very late tomorrow night. And then you can see there they pretty much weaken, and then you just have some showers by late tomorrow night into early on Wednesday. Looking at our dew points for tomorrow into Ohio and Pennsylvania, you're not going to have a you're not going to have very moist low levels, but you're going to have sufficient moisture dew points into the mid to upper 50s there, and then into the very low 60s showing up into Ohio and then into Pennsylvania right there. And then this will pretty much your moisture will pretty much go down into the mid 50s, your dew points in the mid 50s by late Tuesday into early on Wednesday. You are going to have some temperatures into the mid 70s showing up into eastern Ohio, so that'll definitely help with some of those storms for tomorrow evening into tomorrow night. And then as you can see, by tomorrow night, these temperatures rapidly start to decrease into the lower 50s and into the lower 60s into the upper 50s. So you're not really going to have a tornado risk for tomorrow into Ohio and Pennsylvania. But as you can see right here, you really don't have much of a low-level jet at all, and really doesn't get stronger until very late on Tuesday into early on Wednesday. You only have a 20-knot low-level jet there, but that is really the limiting factor for that. But looking at the upper level winds with that little bit of a hell risk, as you can see, our 500 millibar winds, you have in the upper 40-knot range right there into Pennsylvania and into northeastern Ohio in your 40-knot range, and this will help with that hell risk tomorrow into early on Wednesday. Still, you have that upper 40-knot to lower 50-knot upper level winds there. Now looking at our severe weather risk for Wednesday, we do have an enhanced risk from central Louisiana all the way into far south western Alabama, and then into Mississippi right there. Then with a slight risk around that all the way from Texas into southwestern Georgia, into the panhandle of Florida, into Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana. And then with our marginal risk surrounding the slight risk, we have it from eastern Texas all the way into the panhandle of Florida, parts of the panhandle of Florida, into Georgia, northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, south central Arkansas, and then into southern Tennessee right there. Then looking at our probabilistic, we have a 30% risk with a hatch risk surrounding that 30% risk from Louisiana and into Mississippi. And then around that is that 15% from eastern Texas all the way into southwestern Georgia, and then into Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Alabama. And around that is a 5% all the way from Texas into Florida, into Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. For day 4, which is Thursday, we already have two different 15% risk, which are automatic slight risk, and we have one in northern Kentucky, western West Virginia, and then into Ohio right there. Then we also have the other one from parts of the panhandle of Florida and all the way into central North Carolina, and then into South Carolina and Georgia right there. And as I was just saying, these are automatic slight risk, and by tomorrow we will have our regular 1 through 5 risk outlook on Thursday's severe weather setup. Now finally, taking a look at the 18Z GFS as a whole, and look at our system that'll deliver the severe weather over the next couple of days. As you can see, we have that precipitation and those storms showing up across Texas right there into Arkansas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. And then as this goes forward into Wednesday morning, we have that low right over Louisiana, and then it still begins to move northeast. And then as you have that Wednesday severe weather risk over the deep south there, and then still moving into Thursday, we'll have that other severe weather set up into Kentucky and Ohio, and then into the southeast on Thursday. And then this will pretty much move out of the lower 48 states by Saturday. Now quickly looking at Wednesday and Thursday severe weather risk, we have that low level jet really beginning to increase over Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, and just mainly the deep south on Wednesday. And then as you can see there, a very strong low level jet showing up across Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana. And then going into Thursday, it really begins to strengthen again, and you have that pretty strong low level jet over the southeast and into Ohio and Kentucky on Thursday. And then that will pretty much, as I just said earlier, move out completely by Saturday. Then looking at our upper level winds for Wednesday and Thursday, as you can really see that trough there at the 500 millibar level. And then moving into Wednesday, still has that mostly neutral tilt, and then going into Thursday, it gains that negative tilt on the 18Z GFS right there, and then still has that negative tilt all the way throughout Thursday into early on Friday, and then it just moves out. So that's going to be it for tonight's update. I really hope y'all enjoyed, and I apologize for it being so long. I didn't really plan it to be 30 minutes long, but I hope y'all learned something new, and I hope y'all stay safe over these next couple of days if you live in any of the areas that have the severe weather risk. And I'll try my best to make another video tomorrow, and I'll still try to make a video maybe every day leading up into the end of this severe weather risk. But I really appreciate all of y'all watching, and I hope everyone has a great evening.